Hi, and welcome to the Flute Talk podcast, where we talk about all things flute, live here on Patreon. What is Patreon? Patreon is a place for fans like you to come and support creators like us. For as little as $2 a month, you can join in on this live show once a month. Plus, we'll send you the popular 5-minute warm-up for Flutists in a Hurry as a gift for being so awesome. Plus, we'll give a shout out to all of our patrons in our podcast. This plus many more perks and tiers await you. So why not join us over on Patreon and help us continue to make great content? The Flute Talk podcast is also brought to you by the Flute Center of New York. The Flute Center of New York has the world's largest selection of flutes. If you need to buy a flute or piccolo, the Flute Center of New York has you covered. With our code TFC at checkout, you can try up to 3 to 4 flutes for up to 10 days, have an extended 18-month warranty, and free shipping worldwide. So be sure to go to the website flutes4sale.com. So that's flute4sale.com. Flutesforsale.com. Just be sure to use that code TFC for all those perks, and a little bit of that does go our way. Another sponsor is, well, ourselves. We have a store. If you haven't noticed yet, we have a store over at store.theflutechannel.com. We have some shirts and posters and things like that over at Teespring. So you can definitely go there and get some merch, posters, whatever you'd like that we have. It will be there. You'll probably notice it under our videos. If you're interested, be sure to go to store.theflutechannel.com. That helps us out immensely. So yeah, on with the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Flute Talk podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Amélie.
How's it going, Emily?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we just did just practicing, which was really cool. You should go check it out. About Kohler Etude, the one in A minor. It's pretty cool. But today we're going to talk about what does it feel like to play a concerto, because you just played a concerto last week. If you haven't seen the video, go check it out on YouTube. We put the whole entire concerto there for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Yeah. So I did that on Wednesday. It was fun.
Now, how long of a preparation was that for you?
I was kind of lucky because it was supposed to be performed in the spring originally.
Right.
So I was pretty much ready in the spring, and then it was canceled.
Rescheduled.
Yeah, rescheduled. And so I thought it was cool because when you relearn something, it's more solid than the first time, you know?
Sure.
So I thought, oh, great. I'll just leave it there and take it back maybe a month or two before the concert. And so that's what I did. So I was lucky.
Yeah, like you were game ready in the spring, and then now you're double game ready.
Yeah, because I believe more in starting early and doing less more often. The brain learns better like that because you need sleep. Sleeping and learning are really linked. You need sleep and doing other stuff and just letting your brain... Like, sometimes I practice something a lot and then I realize I'm walking down the street and my fingers are playing the piece that I'm learning. So my brain is rearranging things while I'm taking a walk.
Yeah, that happens to me too. I'm sure that happens to a lot of our listeners, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm funny. Like, oh, I'm playing that part. So it means my brain's like, okay, really, that thing is important. Try to remember that. And it's just working on it on its own. But if you try to just cram your brain with stuff, you know, just put it in as fast as you can.
Exactly.
You have to respect your body and the... Because I believe sometimes we tend to separate our brain and our bodies, which is weird because the brain is inside the body. It's part of it. And it so you have to respect how it works and take your time.
Yeah.
And it's less stressful also for your body, less risk of getting hurt.
Yep.
Practicing long, like not as long, but for a longer period, you know.
Exactly.
So that's how I try to approach it.
How about rehearsals? How did rehearsals go, and how did that dynamic work for you when you're actually up on stage and playing with orchestra?
Yeah, well, for that concert, I was always scheduled at the end of the rehearsal. So I think my piece was practiced less than the other pieces of the concert. But, you know, I find myself very lucky to perform a concerto. So I try not to worry about those things. You do what you can with the time that you have, and everyone's doing their best, and that's it. I didn't stress about it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it's okay. We'll make it work,
Mm-hmm.
and we did. It was good. But maybe when I was younger, I would have been a bit nervous. Oh, we didn't practice as much or blah blah blah, or we didn't do it completely every time, or like I don't even think about that anymore. I just do. I know I can get. I knew I could get it done.
Did you feel that there
So
was a dynamic between you and the orchestra, like things that you were kind of trying to, that you noticed that you didn't notice before necessarily, like playing with sounds, playing with them back and forth, trying to find a blend?
yeah, well, the more you practice, the more you notice things. Because the first time around, you're really into your own part.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, that's how
Right.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
First time around, I'm just trying to get it done. I wasn't paying attention as much to the orchestra, but really trying to play my part with all that other sound around me that I'm not used to when I practice on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And so, especially because it's not a piece that's been recorded much, so it's not like something you can listen to versions. And
Right.
I was still lucky to have a version to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that, and then with time, I could hear different things, like some parts where the orchestra could play a bit softer, and I asked, and everyone did their best, to make it more balanced, because it was about balance. And there's a part where I had a nice little conversation with the violin. I mean, musical conversation. The flute and the first violin, they respond to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was paying more attention to those things as time went on, with more rehearsals or during the concert. Even I was like, oh, let's listen to this part, and let's play with this part, and let's not do chamber music, but almost, in some parts of a concerto, you can still have that type of feel, and you're playing with the musicians. But it's about being with the conductor and being with the musicians as well, like listening and watching, making sure things are together, because I was always keeping an eye on the conductor's
Pulse?
pulse,
And his conducting, yeah.
on his conducting, but at the same time trying not to put all my energy in my eyes, but also in my ears, to listen to what's going on around me.
Right.
But that's why music is so amazing. Like, it uses so much of your brain, and that's why it's so stimulating as well.
Yeah.
And it puts us in that state, because of all that stimulation of, like, you get in that state of flow, because you can't think about anything else while you're doing all that. You have to be in that moment. Yeah.
And a lot of people, like you were just saying, being in that state, I think a lot of people have a hard time, and I read some of the comments, like some people are having a hard time getting into that state, and they're actually stuck in the nervous state or the what if state, before they're about to play. Say, if they have to do a solo, or if they have to do a concerto, or
or even play in the orchestra.
That's what I mean, a solo in an orchestra. Yeah, sorry. Or a solo, yeah. Yeah. Do you think there's two distinctive stages or multiple stages to get to that point? Is it with preparation that you get automatically, that when you get on stage, that comes to your point that you're there in that creation mode, or how do you do with them?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like, there's preparation, like knowing that your stuff and being confident is a good thing. But even when you know that that you might miss something, you probably will, because we all miss stuff. I made little mistakes, during the concerto. It doesn't matter, because I was thinking just before I went on stage, I was having those weird thoughts, and I was thinking, why do people go to concerts? Like, why would people come and watch me struggle with that piece? Not struggle, but it's kind of, I was thinking that's what makes it interesting. The little risk, and it's like life.
Like
in
the
life.
Coliseum, like the circus,
little
like you
bit
versus
like
the
this.
lion. Everyone wants the lion eat the person. Like
Yeah.
you eat the orchestra.
Exactly. I had this idea that not against or anything, but like, you have this challenge, and people are like, it makes it more exciting because there's a challenge. And if you make a mistake, it's okay, because it's life, and art is life, and life is not perfect.
Right.
And we all try to live the best life, and I try to play my best, but it's part of the artistic endeavor that there's going to be little things, but I think it also makes it interesting, and it goes with the energy and the struggle. And when you're live, it's when you're on, like, in person, you feel that even more, that kind of the strength of life that wants to come out of the person and be like, the courage and all those things that we work on.
Right.
I was thinking about that. It's funny because I was like, yeah, we're here for a limited time, and everyone here is playing music, and all those people are listening tonight. And why are we there? There must be something about it. There's a music itself, because music is part of every culture. It's part of every, it's really part of ourselves as human beings. It's part of who we are. Like, music is important to everyone. Like, it wouldn't be in every culture if it wasn't important, even biologically, to create bonds between people.
Right.
And
it's sharing your feat of strength. It's like sharing your feats of strength with everyone, and they sort of feel like they've done it in a way too, because they've experienced it.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking, like, so I don't know if you think of it like that, it's not the same stress of perfection.
Right.
And then I was also thinking, let's try to express something through that music.
Sure.
It's not just that. It's not just a feat of, it's not just a challenge. It's also an expression of something. So let's try to be expressive. Let's try to say something, like, about life, about
cool,
about emotions, like something emotional that, people can relate to, because music is a language of emotions, really. It uses the same neural pathways as language and as emotion.
Sure.
So that's why I think it's the language of emotions. And but what did I had another thought that you made me think of something.
Well, just to jump maybe to do you have any additional, like, tips for people when they're about to, say, do something like this, like a concerto or something? What are, like, some things that really stood out? Like, do you have to prepare a certain way? Do you have to, say you have a couple months, or say you only have a month? Like, what are the things that light up first when you have this opportunity, besides just learning it?
Well, there's different things. So there's a learning, obviously, like, try to learn it as fast as you can, like as early as you can, I mean. So, and also try to work. I noticed that some people, they don't really practice performing the piece. They practice the piece all the time. So they make a mistake, they stop, and they start again.
Yeah, like 99%
or
of the
they say,
time
I made
they
a
practice
mistake
that
there,
way.
and they restart where they made the mistake.
Yeah.
And not even a bar before, because the difficult thing is not to play the note, it's to transition.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even that line, it's that line after you're tired of the 3 lines before.
Right.
And so people practice in this way where they stop, and they're like, and then sometimes they don't realize that the first time they've played the whole thing through is in concert. And they say, but I played it way better at home. You think you did because you never really played it at home.
Right.
You never performed it. You didn't practice performing it. So you have to separate practicing in 2 parts, the learning and the performing. And start performing as soon as you can, because when you perform it, it informs you on what you should practice.
Right.
So you perform it, you make mistakes, you continue, but you'll remember, or you record yourself, you re-listen, and you're like, oh, that part. You don't need to practice the whole thing all the time. Then you focus on those things, and then you perform again. And then you alternate like that. And sometimes I would just practice the whole thing too with a tuner, or with very slowly, or in different ways. I like to practice in different ways the whole thing, but I knew the parts that were more difficult, like the end, or... So that's the thing, not waiting last minute to perform and thinking, having this false belief that I was playing way better at home.
Right.
No, you weren't. You thought you were because you were practicing wrong in reality. You were practicing right half of the thing, but you didn't practice the performing half. So that's that. And then for the rest, I think a lot of it is like I've started doing cardiac coherence maybe a few months, years ago. I don't know, a while ago. So I try to do it every morning, and I do it at least once a day, and sometimes 2-3 times a day.
Right.
So that's a breathing exercise. I've been talking about it often.
A lot, yeah.
You breathe in 5 seconds, you breathe out 5 seconds, and you do that for 5 minutes. And there's a lot of exercises on YouTube. You could just write cardiac coherence, and you get 5-minute videos with either a sound that tells you when to breathe in and out, or a little bubble that goes up and down. And that helps your nervous system balance itself between the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So sympathetic is like the active, and the parasympathetic is the calming and regenerating part, of those two systems that are part of the autonomous nervous system. And when you do that, there's research that shows that it calms down the nervous system for 4 hours approximately. So they say if you do it 3 times a day, let's say you do it in the morning when you wake up, before lunch, and before dinner, then you kind of have your whole day covered,
right,
where you're calmer. And then after a couple of weeks, if they have taken blood samples from people who did it, and the cortisol level, so the stress hormones,
the stress hormone,
they go down.
Hormone,
And so it helps me,
Right.
because life is stressful. And so it helps me. I feel that I'm calmer. And like before the concert, everyone was practicing their lines, but I knew my lines. I've practiced enough.
Right.
Like there's no way practicing 5 minutes before the concert is going to give me an edge.
Right.
Like at that point, I know my stuff. So
right.
I was doing my cardiac coherence and all those types of things.
Yeah, instead of doing the social media in the morning or at lunch, or use that time you're looking at socials to do the cardiac coherence instead.
And it's just 5 minutes.
That's what I mean. You spend more time on, I check on my thing how much time I've spent on my social media, and it's way more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So like you can spend
15
minutes
a day
out of that to better your health and better your brain, better your brain health, better your body health, because it just comes down to how efficient your brain can work out stuff and retain it. But if you're doing bad things to your body, you're diminishing your chances of having a better type of recall.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing just before the concert, doing my exercise. Yeah, I didn't have the internet on my phone, so I just put my stopwatch.
Yeah, right.
And did it like that. 5 minutes. I sat very calmly in a little corner, did that, and then I continued to take slow breaths through my nose, and just I had listened to a podcast about equanimity, like the calm in the middle of the universe, and saying that equanimity, it's a concept in meditation, and it was talking about like the middle of each of like, let's say the middle of my universe is my own center, and the middle of your universe is your own center. So like being calm and centered, really, like, and so when I was thinking like that, then the fact that, let's say, there was a piano because we were playing in a place that's not necessarily obvious place to do a concert with a.
Well, it was a hall. Yeah.
It's a hall, but like
a big theater.
Yeah, but it's a bit different,
Yeah,
than a normal classical concert room.
Sure.
It was fun because that was the goal of it, to be a bit different,
Right.
more cabaret-like, and I thought it was awesome. But the fact is that we didn't have a place to put the piano during my concerto, so the piano was between me and the conductor. Or I was trying not to hide the violinist and not to fall off the stage at the same time.
Exactly.
And it didn't stress me out. I was trying to be the calm in the middle of the universe.
You weren't trying to find these, you weren't looking out for things to distract you. You were really in the zone to just kind of get this done.
That's how it's going to be done. That's how it's going to be done,
exactly.
But I think that type of like for me, I've been training my brain for years, you know, and every once in a while I get a new thing in my arsenal, you know, of being able to control all those things. Like now cardiac coherence, but I've studied a little bit of sports psychology before.
Right.
That was a good thing for me at one point. It really helped me out with visualization. I still do it.
And I even think,
you know,
and
sometimes even like imagining that you're someone else. If it's too hard for you to imagine it's yourself playing a concerto, well, imagine you're Emmanuel Paud. Imagine you're Jean-Pierre Rampal. Imagine you're whoever you
if you want,
admire.
if that helps you,
or imagine you're Muhammad Ali if you want to be Muhammad Ali and be like, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, and just go like whatever helps you to get out of that. We make limits for ourselves. Like very often it's our own limitations that we made up ourselves in our own minds that are our worst enemies, or the idea that we have of what we can achieve, and sometimes we're limiting ourselves with like limiting beliefs really. And it's a whole like, I think it's a good investment to work on, let's say, cardiac coherence every day for when you have that concert or when you have that. Plus, it's good for your health.
I was about to say, like, a lot of those things in your arsenal sort of almost replace the need to practice more, because in reality, we don't need to practice more. If you've already done a lot of training, people always have the conception that even the people who are playing and gigging all the time, they're practicing a lot. They might be, but I think it's also, if they take a lot of that time out and do things like that, what you have in your arsenal, that actually helps the body work better.
Then you'll be more focused and you'll learn faster.
You'll learn faster and be able, and you'll need less time, because practicing inherently, if you practice, 1 hour or 2 hours, there's really no, and they've measured that, there's no difference between somebody who practices 2 hours and a person who practices 6 hours or 5 hours or so many hours. They don't see there's a diminishing, return on the body and the focus and all those things. Like eventually our body loses focus, and eventually like nothing's being retained by the brain. You see parts of the brain that are literally not flashing.
You hurt yourself.
And you hurt yourself.
If you
Injuries can happen.
If you get a big injury and then you can't play for months, well, and the older I get, the more I think it's about health. Because like if you lose your health,
you can't play.
then you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So whatever your goals are in life, like putting those goals before your health is maybe not the best investment.
Right.
Because like it's the main thing in life. You need that first. So I try to think about that. But I think you're right. If you're calm, relaxed, and your body's working well, your brain's working well. Because if the body's healthy, the brain has more chances of being healthy.
Totally.
It's like what you eat doesn't just go in your gut. Like it feeds the whole body, your brain included. And like having a good lifestyle, I think it's a lifestyle that really is for you. Like we try to look at other people's lives and stuff like that and try to emulate them, which is good, but in reality you still have to find what really works for you. Totally. And plus we tend to idealize other people's lives.
That's what I mean. Exactly. A lot.
Because people don't go and say we tend to share our positive experiences in our lives for different reasons, not just because we want to flash, but maybe we don't want to make people feel bad about things, so we don't want to talk about it with them, or I don't know. So it's easy to think, oh, other people don't have that problem, I do. And no, it's we all have the same problems. Mainly.
So anything else to add?
I don't think so. But I loved it. It was fun.
Yeah, it's much fun. Huh?
I thought, and one last thing, you can see stress as there's good stress and there's bad stress. I think if you really like playing in concert, you can see stress, that type of stress, as just excitement. And I try to see it as excitement instead of stress. It's just just changing the angle in which you see that physical thing that you feel instead of being like, oh, I'm nervous. No, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited because it's now. I'm doing it now, and it's amazing. I have this thing,
Yeah.
and being in the moment. And if one note, like when you're playing, be in the moment. The note that's 2 bars before, it's over. You can't go back to it. And thinking about it is not, it's not helpful.
Yeah, enjoy
Just
the experience.
be right now.
Yeah, be in the now. It's true.
Like maybe a couple of notes ahead you can be, but even thinking, I remember when I was younger thinking, oh, I got it, a tough passage, I got it, and then just missing the next note after because I was not focused on what I had to do. So all that talking in your head that, you were flat,
Right.
or this happened, or that, or, oh, if only I had practiced more, or like, it's not time to judge yourself at this moment. It's time to do your best. And the judging, like, don't, if it starts, try to tell your brain, no, I'll take care of you later. Like, that part of me, like, just make it stop. That's a training too. But you can train your mind to do that. Like when people meditate, that's kind of what they're doing.
Right.
They're observing their thoughts, and then you're observing your thoughts and saying, okay, you know what? I can take care of that later. It's okay. And I think that can be very helpful when you play in concert, to just have that type of awareness, but you can practice it while you're practicing. Like, you don't have to sit and meditate per se. You can do that in the shower. You can do that in many different you can do that when you're having a conversation with someone, and just checking in. Am I really listening, or am I thinking of what I'm going to say next, or am I thinking of something else completely different?
Exactly.
Or but like observing your thoughts when you're practicing, and like saying, okay, that I don't need to think about that right now. And you don't need to be kind of rude with yourself and say like, no, you can just say, it's okay, we'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I do it. For me, it's more soft than being like, why am I thinking about that? And then there's judgment coming in, like, I don't need that.
No. Exactly. Cool. So yeah, hopefully you guys let us know in the comments, or if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave us a comment. Or if you're listening in and have a comment, either leave it on the YouTube episode page, or leave us a comment over on Anchor. Go on anchor.fm and you can actually leave us a voicemail, and maybe we'll play it on the next episode.
Well, that would be cool.
That'd be cool. I know some people have left some messages, but it would be cool if you leave a message about how you prepare for an event like that when you're a musician, like whether it's a concerto or whether it's other types of events and stuff like that. So,
and people can leave reviews too.
Yeah, be sure to also, please, leave a review. If you're listening in on this, go leave a review on Apple Podcasts for us. It does a huge difference for us and makes everything a lot more fun and easier on our side when we read your reviews too. We'll even read reviews outside as well too, over on Apple Podcasts, so you can go and do that. And if you're looking for a flute, be sure to go and look for the Flute Center of New York. Yeah, at flutesforsale.com, and you can look for flutes there. You can also call them and use our code TFC and try up to 3 to 4 flutes for up to 10 days. And we get a small commission from that, just to be transparent about it. But they're the best in the biz. They have every flute you can possibly think of, and you can try them. Now, and it works worldwide, so you can use the code TFC at checkout, or call them and talk to them directly. They're all flutists there, and they're great. They're based in New York City. You can also go and see their store too if you're in the New York area. But be sure to use our code TFC. Also, here, you're on Patreon. If you're listening in live, or you are considering becoming a patron for us to help us make more of these episodes, but also make more videos over on the YouTube page, you can go to patreon.com/theflutechannel and donate as little as $2 a month, and that goes directly to us, and it helps us make new content.
And there's also other tiers.
Yep.
So you can look at it and see if something else is interesting for you.
See what fits you, yeah. Or if you have an idea for a tier and you want to pay more for it, let us know. Join, and then let us know. That is basically the inside community of the Flute channel for us.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
if you
it'd be pretty
have an
cool.
idea, you can just ask us.
Yeah. Maybe we can make something fun. Yeah, it's fun and cool. And but there's a couple tiers there. So yeah, patreon.com/theflutechannel. And I think that's it. There's also lessons.
Yeah, so if you want to take lessons with me, you can email us at info@theflutechannel.com, and we'll send you all the information about it. I have students that use Skype, but
you can use FaceTime,
FaceTime, anything,
Zoom, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works well.
Exactly.
People improve, and Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
efficient.
And if you just jumped into this episode, out of all episodes, you've jumped into this one and haven't listened to any of other stuff, check all of our other episodes on the Flute on the Flute Talk podcast. We do this every Sunday, last Sunday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And maybe the store.
Yeah, you can also check our store. And we also have another store coming out soon, but the store we have right now is store.theflutechannel.com, and that's where all of our merch is, like our shirts, our posters, mugs, whatever you like. You can go to store.theflutechannel.com, and soon we'll also have a new store coming out soon too, so that's new coming out later.
We'll release our method, and
Yeah.
then we have other ideas, so eventually we'll have many different books on that store.
Yes.
It's the first of many.
Yes, a whole entire place where you can go and learn the flute even more. So cool. Thanks, everybody, so much for listening in, and see you guys next month.
Yeah, see you next month.
Bye.
Thanks.